It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be talking about some news that broke recently related to the Daryl Dixon character and the possibility of a Daryl spin-off movie in the future. Not a series, but a movie. Now, this video is going to be split into 3 different sections. Section 1, I'm going to go through all of the different ways they could do a Daryl Dixon-centric spin-off movie or show. And then in the second section, I'm going to go through why I think that a spin-off movie or a TV show for Daryl doesn't work. And third, I'm going to go through an article that's going to talk a little bit more in detail about what the rumors are, what's actually planned, and what's rumor and what's a fact as far as a Daryl Dixon related movie is concerned. So first off, let's start with ways that we could get a Daryl Dixon movie. I think there's only 3 different ways we could get a Daryl Dixon story. The first is a story about Daryl before we saw him in the pilot episode of The Walking Dead. So this would be like a younger version of Daryl Dixon, a version that's very different than what we see with Daryl right now. That's the first possibility. And if they do that, then they could touch base with Merle again and they could give a backstory about Daryl and Merle and their past. They could even do a lot with that as far as picking apart things that Daryl has revealed about his past, and they could incorporate that into the stories. The second ways that they could do a Daryl Dixon-centric story is to show Daryl on a mission during the 6-year time jump after Rick disappeared. This would obviously be the least exciting or interesting because whatever you do, we know that it's not going to lead to anything no matter what type of story you tell, because you're going to have to make it be bounded to just the spin-off, something that's not going to spill over, because if it spills over after the time jump, then it would be things that we've already seen on the original show. The third way they could do it is they could give us a Daryl story, but a story in which he actually goes to find Rick Grimes. Maybe he learns that Michonne has gone after him. Maybe he himself wants to pursue that clue that Rick is alive to find him. That's another way that it could go. So with that said, let's dive into why I'm disappointed that we're getting a Daryl Dixon story and why it doesn't work. Now this is going to relate to what I already talked about in terms of the type of stories that they could tell for Daryl. So first things first, if they want to give us a Daryl-centric story as the origin story for Daryl, so basically a story with Daryl that takes place before we meet him in the pilot episode, then that would not work simply because the actor is older. So they can't have the actor playing that character anymore because he looks different, and there's just no way that they could make that work in a way that is grounded in reality and doesn't take the audience or the fans out of the story. There's 2 ways they could fix that. One is that they could hire someone younger. They could pick another actor to play young Daryl, which I think would not make sense, and it takes away from what they're trying to do. Because one of the biggest reasons why they're doing this in the first place is because of the Daryl Dixon character and how popular he is, but also because of Norman Reedus, because of what the actor has been able to do with this character. So I think it would be counterintuitive to just have another actor play that character. The second way they could do it is with visual effects. They could make Norman Reedus look younger, much like what they did with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in The Irishman. Now that's also a hit and miss because if you want to do it right and if you want to do it justice, you have to put the budget in to make it as good as possible, because even The Irishman, look at how much budget they had, and even there you could pick apart different scenes that just doesn't look right because of the visual effects that they've done to make the actors look younger. Also because we know AMC is not too keen on giving Walking Dead the budget it needs, that's also going to make things extremely complicated, because it could mean that if they do that, then they're going to take away from the budget of the original show or the other spin-offs or the Rick movie and so on. So because of that, I think it'll be a big mistake to even give this movie the budget that it needs to have Norman Reedus still play this character as a younger version of himself, because like I said, the budget would just be taken away from somewhere else. Now the second way they could tell this story is during the 6-year time jump that we had after Rick disappeared. Now, like I said earlier, that would be very disappointing and it would be underwhelming because we know that there isn't going to be a lot of substance to the story. What's that going to do for us? Seeing Daryl try to find Rick or even be involved in like a mini story, because we know that it doesn't really lead to anything significant. Like I said, it should not bleed into the actual storyline from the original show. So it shouldn't spill over. Like any story that you start in the spin-off has to stay in the spin-off and has to be such that it's not going to impact the other stories that are told after it. The stories that were already told in the original show. The third way they could do it is they could have Daryl leave on a mission to find Rick, much like how Michonne left to find Rick. Like I said, maybe they could have it so that Daryl would want to pursue the clues that Michonne found himself and try to find CRM, the colony that took Rick, and basically find the truth about what the group is, why they took Rick, and where Rick is. Now, that also has its own problems. One of the biggest is The Walking Dead show is already suffering because it's losing a lot of main characters. Rick, Michonne, Maggie left, but she's coming back. But, there's going to be tons of other maybe major characters that are going to be dying in the near future. So it's going to be an extremely bad idea to take Daryl out of the show. In a way, right now, Daryl is the face of the show. So if they take Daryl out, that's going to negatively impact the show. And I don't think that they could do a lot of damage control after that. In a way, with Rick's disappearance and Rick's exit from the show, they had a lot of things in place to kind of mitigate the risks of Rick leaving. And so because of that, they didn't need to do a lot of damage control. But I think if they have Daryl leave, even if it doesn't mean him dying, it's still going to have a lot of damage. And I don't think that they're going to be able to do a lot of damage control to deal with that situation. Now, with all of that said, one final thing I do want to mention before jumping into the article. I think at this point, it feels like all of these different news about this character getting a spin-off show or a movie is becoming more of a meme. And it's becoming more of like a stunt that AMC is pulling, rather than something that's going to actually get fans excited. They haven't even given us the Rick movie. They haven't given us anything concrete as far as the Rick movie is concerned. We don't have a teaser. We had like a small one, but that was a very underwhelming one. We don't know about the story that's going to take place. We don't know anything. So in a way, even the Rick movie is some sort of like a rumor, because we haven't really seen anything come out of it. And I know it's not a rumor because they've officially confirmed and we know it's coming, but at the same time, it's been so long since they revealed that at this point it feels like get it done already, you know what I mean? And even after the Rick thing, Michonne, like they're saying they're gonna do a Michonne miniseries or movie or a spin-off show or whatever. So it seems like at this point there's a lot of talk and not a lot of results. Like, it's easier to just say you're gonna do these amazing things than to actually do these amazing things. And at this point, it feels like we're just getting a lot of talk and not a lot of concrete results from those talks. And also, I think it's only appropriate to do a Negan spin-off. Maybe bring the Here's Negan story from the comics before you do anything with like Daryl or anyone else. I mean, with Rick, it makes sense. That's the first movie. With Michonne, it kind of makes sense because you're going to connect that to the movie. But then after that, why would you want to keep connecting things back to the movie? You know what I mean? I think it makes more sense to do something that's completely separate, but at the same time fills in some of the gaps. Here's Negan's story is a great example of that. And there's other different things that they could do that fill the gaps that we've had in the past as far as the Walking Dead universe is concerned. But at this point, I feel like I'm losing a little bit of interest because it seems like everything is connecting back to the movie and we haven't even got the original movie yet. But with all of that said, I do want to know everyone's opinions. What do you think about a Daryl-centric spin-off movie or a show or whatever the case may be? Do you think that it makes sense to do one for Daryl or not? Before ending this video, I do want to go through the article that we have to just go through the details a little bit more. So this article comes from NME, and the title is The Walking Dead Daryl spin-off movie reportedly in the works. So a spin-off film centered on The Walking Dead's Daryl Dixon is in development, according to reports. Sources close to We Got This Covered have said AMC is working on a movie about their series' much-loved crossbow-wielding character. The sources said it has not been greenlit but is in discussion. The publication added that the film would likely be set after season 11 or 12 of The Walking Dead and would see Daryl, Norman Reedus, search for former series protagonist Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln, while throwing in some flashbacks with his volatile brother Merle, who died in season 3 episode 15, This Sorrowful Life. And that's pretty much everything, so not too much detail in terms of the actual Daryl Dixon-centric movie, but it seems like their idea at this point is to basically have a story that takes place after season 11. A story that sees Daryl leaving to find Rick Grimes. Like we see here, it's not green-lit. They are in a way planning it. But with that said, again, I want to know everyone's thoughts and opinions about this news that broke in the comment section below. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's not a good idea? Do you think Daryl is the right character for this or not? And just in general, let me know your thoughts and opinions about all of these different spin-offs, movies, and TV shows that are coming out that are in the universe of The Walking Dead. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.